The layout of rooms changed, but in each set of photographs, and there seemed to be sets, maybe 15 to 20 photos per set, there was always something the same. A coat rack, a lamp, a bookshelf in the background. These weren't from one house. These were from many houses. Different houses, all photographed from the same corner. I started going through them more systematically. I pulled out my laptop and began photographing the photos so I could get a clearer view on a bigger screen. That's when I noticed it. In maybe 30% of the images, there was a reflection. A faint reflection in a window or a mirror or a piece of glass somewhere in the room. And in every single reflection I could find, there was a face. The same face. A woman's face. The face belonged to whoever was taking the pictures. She was always in the corner, standing absolutely still, and the camera must have been on a timer, or else she had an extremely long arm, because she was always capturing the room behind her. Her expression didn't change. Not once. Across photographs that must have spanned years, possibly decades, her face had the same rigid quality to it. No smile. No frown. Just a kind of neutral stare. I remember sitting at my dining room table for probably 2 hours just looking at her face. I kept telling myself this was probably nothing. Maybe she was a photographer who developed some kind of technical method. Maybe this was an art project. But the more I looked at her, the more certain I became that this wasn't about photography technique. This was documentation. That night I did something I'm not entirely proud of. I went down into the basement, into the exact corner where I'd found the box of photos, and I looked at the walls. The walls were just drywall, painted eggshell white. Unremarkable. But I pressed my hand against them, and that's when I felt it. The drywall was slightly warm, warmer than the rest of the basement. And if I pressed my ear against it, I could hear something. A kind of low hum. Or maybe a sound like breathing. I didn't go back down there for 3 days. When I finally did, it was during the day. When there was no ambient darkness, nothing that could play tricks on me. And I did something I'd been avoiding, which was to count the photographs more carefully and try to figure out how many different houses were documented. I counted 53 separate sets. 53 different houses. That meant 53 different families, 53 different lives, all captured from the same corner of the room, all documented by the same woman in exactly the same way. I found a phone number for the previous owners, a man named Harold Chen who'd lived here with his wife for 18 years. When I reached him, I asked about the photographs as casually as I could. He went quiet for a long moment. He told me he didn't know what I was talking about. He said they'd left nothing behind, that they'd done a thorough cleanup. But I could hear something in his voice, a kind of recognition, like he knew exactly what I'd found, but couldn't bring himself to talk about it. I pressed him a little. I said maybe it was the owners before him. And that's when he said something I've been turning over in my head ever since. He said, "Did she look at you yet?" I didn't answer him. I don't think I could have. He hung up after that. I kept the photographs in a box in my garage for 2 weeks, telling myself I would contact the police or the previous owners again or do something that made sense. But I didn't. Because every night for those 2 weeks I would hear sounds in my basement. The sound of something heavy being moved. The sound of static on a television. The sound of someone breathing that wasn't me. And I realized something that made my stomach turn. The photographs in the last set, the most recent ones, the ones with the highest quality film and the least fading, weren't from the previous owner's house. They were from my house. My living room. My hallway. My bedroom. Taken from the corner. At night. With that same woman's face reflected in my mirror every single time. I moved out last month. I told my landlord there was a problem with the foundation and I wouldn't be staying the lease through. I haven't looked at those photographs since. I left them in the house. But 2 nights ago, I got a photograph in the mail. No return address. It was my bedroom, taken from the corner at night. And this time, she wasn't just in the reflection. This time, she was standing behind me.